Okay, welcome back. I thought it would be helpful for you because you're working so hard on your own to go over a few answers to these questions. So if you haven't done it yet, pause this right now and go do it. I don't want to see you writing verbatim what I tell you in the slideshow. So you want to rewrite these rules to better fit the argument you want to make. So the first draft of number one says, in all but 13 jurisdictions that have recently considered the issue, children cannot sue for loss of parental consortium. But you're representing two children who do want to sue for loss of parental consortium. So how could you rewrite this? And I think the goal would be to focus on the jurisdictions that do allow such lawsuits, which sounds like there are 13 of them. So perhaps a statement like, a growing number of jurisdictions have permitted claims by children for loss of parental consortium would work. Because then you're focusing on the fact that some jurisdictions do allow it, as opposed to the fact that the current draft really focuses on how many don't. Okay, and then for number two, the current draft says, while a mere post-traumatic neurosis is not enough to toll the statute, a post-traumatic depression coupled with severe depressive reaction has been held to constitute the requisite insanity that tolls the statute of limitations. And you want to argue that the exception applies for your client, and you want to phrase the rule more effectively. So my suggestion would be just to focus on the exception. So I just delete that first introductory phrase. Take the focus off of when the exception doesn't apply and focus on when it does. So my rewritten sentence says, post-traumatic depression coupled with severe depressive reaction constitutes legal insanity and tolls the statute of limitations. And that's way more focused on the outcome that you want and thus more helpful and more persuasive. So let's move on to talking about illustrating the rules. This is a kind of review from last semester too. How do you choose which cases you want to use to illustrate? And there's a number of factors that you want to consider when you're choosing which case you're going to illustrate. To the extent there are binding authorities available that are cited all the time, you'd want to start with those because the court may even be familiar with those and you want to really show the court how those cases compare to yours. To the extent that those kinds of cases don't exist, which in your case they kind of don't, you'd be looking for factually similar cases or cases that are easily distinguishable from yours, because you're going to want to illustrate cases that you're then going to use later in your fact application to argue how the rules should apply to your case. Remember that illustrations themselves have requirements for what should be in there. You have to include contextual facts and important facts, and the holding of the case and the reasoning. And all of that has to be part of your illustration. And make sure that you have a clear reason for illustrating. Why are you illustrating? Make sure that there's a reason, that you're not just including it because you think you're supposed to. It should be a case you really want to talk about when you talk about your facts, or it should be a case that really does a good job of explaining what a rule means, and you want to use that to help your reader understand how that rule works. When you are writing persuasive case illustrations, there are a few kind of things you need to concentrate on. And all of this is also covered in chapter 8 of your textbook. So if you haven't read that yet, you should do it. You're at home, cuddled up on a couch, watching this video, so also read your textbook. One thing you want to do is highlight the helpful facts. And the helpful facts can be those that are similar to your case or those that are different. But whatever it is that's helpful for you in comparing your case with this prior case, you want to highlight those helpful facts in your illustration. And you also want to introduce your illustration with a hook. And this was true last semester, but you have to be very explicit about why you're illustrating the cases. What is the point of the illustration? Why have you decided to include it? So, to that end, you are going to analyze the case illustrations I provided on your worksheet. I believe them to be number 6 and 7. And then you are going to finish the worksheet. I think there are 10 questions total. I'm looking on my computer to make sure I'm not wrong. Please hold. Yes, so you have 10 questions total. You need to finish the worksheet and bring it with you on Friday, and then you're going to turn it over to me on Friday. I want you to also please review chapters 7 and 8 in your textbook. I'm not kidding. You really need to be reading it. A lot of the questions you have are answered by the book. Also, don't forget about the value of Appendix B, which shows you example motions. So if you're still kind of not clear on what's going to be expected of you on now February 13th, then you really want to look at Appendix B. You need to continue researching because most of you are not ready to start writing, and you won't be before Friday, and that's fine. And then I want you to think about statutes. You have a trial brief focused on a statute, and what happens if a word in a statute is confusing, or alternatively is quite clear, but the other side wants to make it confusing? What do you do? What does your jurisdiction do when that situation is encountered? And this is a question that you can answer without focusing on the Castle Doctrine. This is a concept that comes up a lot. And the courts have kind of a method of working through it. So be thinking about that too. The research you've done is still useful, but you need to be thinking about what courts do when they face a statute with a term that one side says is clear and one side says is not clear. And with that, my fine friends, I'm signing off for this very, very cold Wednesday. And I hope that you stay warm, stay inside. I hope that you have enough snacks to get you through. And I will see you on Friday at 10:30 a.m. in room 5240. Feel free to email me if you have any questions or have jokes to tell me, whatever it is, email me. And I'll see you on Friday. Bye.